Welcome to Grit, Grace, and Growth, the podcast where we explore how driven individuals find balance, success, and purpose in their lives and work. I'm your host, Laura Navaquin, and today we're diving into a topic that I know many of us can relate to, and that is finding ways to allocate time for ourselves amongst the demands of entrepreneurship, leadership, work, and just everyday life. Today, our guest, Sharmila Hall, knows firsthand how challenging it can be to carve out time for yourself while managing a thriving business. So, regardless what line of work you're in, whether you are leading a team for an organization or running your own business, it can be hard and challenging to find time for yourself. Sharmila, as the founder and CEO of SMB GM, a digital marketing agency that helps small and medium-sized businesses grow through innovative strategies, Sharmila has a wealth of experience juggling multiple responsibilities. Today, she will share her insights on how she creates space for personal time and self-care while running a successful business. All right, Sharmila, welcome to the episode of Grit, Grace, and Growth. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Laura.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal journey? So, what first sparked your interest in the world of marketing and how you migrated from what you did previously to running your own agency?
So I worked for a long time in sales, director of sales, and also operation improvements for small to medium-sized businesses, and always recognized that most of the small businesses, some of the medium, had the same issue. They couldn't afford marketing. If they could afford one internal marketing person inside, they couldn't get all the skills that you maybe would having with a marketing agency, just because it's difficult sometimes for one person to excel at many different things. And they couldn't compete against corporations. They weren't ranking in Google. They had outdated websites. So there's always all these issues along marketing because there aren't many options out there that tailor to the needs of these businesses. So I decided to do something about it, and I established SMB Global Marketing, not only to help the small and medium-sized businesses rank on Google, have a strong digital presence through brand development and website development, but also giving them the opportunity to connect with diverse audiences. And that's going to be on a local level, like if you want to target the Hispanic market in the US, or at a multinational level. The US is so close to Mexico, to Canada, that why not expand the sales of your products or your services to a different country? So we help with all of that so that this small businesses and medium-sized businesses, they have the strength to compete against larger companies, and they're not left behind, because in the end, it's the motor of our economy. So
You've built an incredible and successful marketing agency and have as well held your various roles in the previous industry. Can you tell us a little more about how you've managed to find balance in your life while navigating such a demanding professional role?
yeah, so I always ensure I have time for myself and to do something that fills me. And it's very easy to say, hard to do.
Yes.
So, but the ways I've done it is making sure everything goes on your schedule. So everybody has a way to do things that works for them, and you need to find the way that works for yourself. For me, it's structure with a calendar. I even put in lunch breaks when I need to go and cook, because I work from home. So I will cook a meal for my family before before it's time for lunch. But I set aside these times for everything, including going to the gym. That's something that also fulfills me. So you always need to make time for yourself. I think health is very important, and it's related to everything we do in life. And stress levels can affect strongly our health. But if we don't have health, we can't work and we can't do anything else. So keeping that balance and not letting your stress, your work eat you up, it's what has helped me be where I am and continue pushing hard to reaching the objectives and the targets that I want to reach.
Yeah, I think those are really great points that you make there as well, because I know, as you said, easier said than done sometimes with managing to include time for ourselves sometimes, but we do need to manage that stress. And especially when we're so busy and we're constantly on the go every single day. But if we are not prioritizing that time for ourselves, sometimes then it could lead to illness or sickness or just increased stress as well. So being able to allocate that time for ourselves does wonders. And I'm very similar to yourself. This is something I've done often on and off throughout my career, but just more so heavily in the past, maybe even 6 months or so have done, which is time blocking. So I think that's similar to even what you're saying with how you put things on your calendar, even if it's to go have lunch. And sometimes I think you really need to do that. I work from home as well, but I need to make time for myself to eat or go do other things and have that time on my calendar. Because if not, it's so easy for other things to arise and then to get caught up in our work with everything else because everything is always such a priority type of thing. And if
Exactly.
we don't allocate that time, then we can get lost in our work or just that stress builds up even more because we're just constantly running. And I love
Yeah.
that you also mention the gym and just like physical activity because we think physical activity or working out is for the physique to like
Mhm.
shape our body, get in shape. And yes, it has that effect as well, but it also does wonders for our mind and de-stressing and letting out that stress, collecting our thoughts, unwinding for the day, or just even in the morning. If it depends when you work out, but collecting your thoughts, and it just does so many wonders mentally as well.
You're completely right. And something that I like to do when I do exercise, because I unwind, is also meditate. It helps
Mm-hmm.
me focus again, set clear goals, balance, and see where I am, where I want to be, and just focus again. And you come back
Mm-hmm.
re energized because it's that
Yes.
combination of working with your brain while working
Mm-hmm.
with your body, and then having the strength to go after those goals, go after doing the work you want to do in a way that you're delivering excellence for the people that you serve.
Similarly, so when I do work out, which I haven't been so regular in doing as of recent, but even when I do and try to be consistent at it, one of the workouts that I personally enjoy is running. I know not everyone's a runner, but one of the things I personally enjoy doing is running. And as I mentioned, just helps you collect your thoughts, organize your day. It gives you new ideas. So, time to brainstorm as well as far as what you're doing in your business, but also personal life. And then also gives me some sense of like confident boost and like,
Yes,
oh, yes, I can
agree.
take on the world. And it's not even just to the physical attribute of that, but even just going back to my work and that confidence of, yes, I'm going to tackle this or I'm going to attempt this because I don't know, I got some sense of adrenaline through that run.
I completely agree with you. And going back to the running, I used to the track when I was young, but I
Hmm.
never liked running long distance. But I
Hmm.
think running is excellent. So when I go to the gym, the first thing I do is run for a mile.
Hmm.
But sometimes I don't feel like running that mile. And after doing a couple of laps, I'm like, I want to stop. I want to stop. But I tell my brain, you want to continue because you're going to
Yes.
reach that mile. You do
Hmm.
this for warming up, and you are working on your brain and telling yourself, yes, you can do it. And that's
Hmm.
building on that confidence, which is exactly what you were saying a minute ago.
Yes. So now tapping in a little, sometimes for some of us, guilt can creep in when we try to step away from work or from other tasks, even family life, to prioritize ourselves. How would you say that you stay disciplined in prioritizing time for yourself when, you have work and you have family and you have other priorities as well, but still being able to allocate that time for yourself, regardless what it is, whether it's your workout, some quiet time, time to meditate, time to have coffee in silence. How do you navigate that? Yeah.
I would say again is the calendar. It really is a lifesaver, and I built on it over the time. So I didn't used to be like this. I would just put work on the calendar, but the more the work became stressful, the more the work demanded more hours of me. I ended up eating at my desk. I would say 90% of the times. I wouldn't stand up for anything. I would just say, okay, there's more to do, there's more to do. And I would get so exhausted at the end that I realized I tried to listen to myself and I realized, okay, you need to do something about it. And that's when I started adding the things to my calendar. But something else that I like doing, I try to make workcation. So I have kids, and I noticed that I enjoy more the work trips if I can bring my family along with me. And it
Yeah.
changes from doing 24/7 work because you're not at home. So you're all day in meetings. And then you say, okay, I'm just going to catch up with emails because I have nothing to do. No, you
Yes.
don't need to take care of yourself. No.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, when your family comes, that after you finish the meetings, you tend to say, I'm going to visit around, or let's go out
Hmm.
to eat, or let's do something else. And that ends up filling my soul because I do really enjoy spending time with my family as
Hmm.
like as something that brings me joy. So
Yes.
within the calendar and making those workations and making sure that every time I notice I'm just letting myself get consumed, I take a minute, I stop, and I set priorities again and look
Hmm.
at what's urgent. I used to tell my team in the past, in a very high demanding job we had that required everything to be done today, that even though we think everything needs to be done today, that's not true. There's always a list of things
Hmm.
and people that can't wait, or situations that need to be taken care of immediately, and there's always something that can be done tomorrow. And then there's people that can wait and they won't be upset about it if you can communicate and just say, okay, I'm working on this, I'll get back to you tomorrow,
Hmm.
or I'll have this in the next couple of days. So it's all about that organization and ensuring that you're staying on top of the things. I like to make sure that I don't let things go by just because I get too relaxed. But
Hmm.
keeping that structure and seeing everything in writing, seeing what are the priorities, and ensuring I'm not missing anything, that helps me. So yeah, organization structure, do a lot of emails, flagging
Yes.
what's important, what's not.
Yes. And I think those are so many great points that you make as well. And one of the I also liked that you mentioned was that bringing your family along with you. And I never really heard the term workcation. So I like that. I think I might start using that as well. But having those workations, because I attempt to bring my family along with me as often as possible. Now it's a little more challenging now that my son's in school, but
Mhm.
still whenever the opportunity presents itself, being able to bring them along, because even when I'm out doing meetings or working, similar to yourself, my husband will take the kids around and they're exploring, they're doing a few things that are out of routine and just having an experience there. But then afterwards, being able to distress and take that step back and have experiences or create experiences and memories with my family and going out to eat or seeing a touristy thing. So I love the experience as well. And then the other thing I was going to say that's similar to that is I usually attempt to include my family and kids. So, I mean, I suppose it depends on the line of work that you're in, but so we're in real estate, and when we're going out and seeing a property, not all the time, but often we'll bring our kids along. And so I joke around with my oldest now, he's 7, but how he actually enjoys it. So I'm like, do you like going to work with mommy and daddy? Do you like tagging along? He's like, yeah. So like walks in, he's like, a couch can go here, this can do this. I think we should do this. And like he has all his ideas and plans. I'm like, okay, thank you for the feedback. You should be the interior decorator now. We should give you a job now. We're trying to incorporate him along. So they get to spend time, we get to spend time with one another while we're technically working, but then they are learning. So my younger two are too small, 2 and 5 months old, but at least my 7-year-old, he's getting that experience and learning some stuff. And he'll actually ask us questions often enough as well. He's like, oh, what do you do with this? And without getting to the nitty gritty details, but he'll ask us questions and we'll share information. And it's kind of funny. My husband and I will look at each other sometimes because he'll regurgitate some information back to us other times, like days, weeks later. And we're like, whoa, you really did understand that? Or you are interested? That wasn't boring to you? And he's like, yeah, yeah. It's okay, I guess, maybe it's beneficial that we bring you along and you're learning some stuff, whether you go down this line of work or in something entirely different. But I guess it's useful for you to be taking in some of that stuff. But so I know I digress, but like my point being is that, sometimes when you're trying to balance personal life and work, but being able to marry the two with one another and integrate them. So not everything seems like only work and that we're not giving our time to our family, but being able to bring them two together and create some of those memories when the chances or opportunities present themselves.
Love that you brought that up because I actually do the same as you.
Uh-huh.
In my case, my kids are a bit older. So my boy is 11-year-old and my daughter is 15.
Mm-hmm.
But my 15-year-old daughter is great with social media. She did it
Mm-hmm.
in ASB, and all of the social media reels that we post in SM
Oh,
Digital
wow.
Marketing, they're done by her. She does the recording, she does the editing, and now I'm trying to teach her to
Wow.
also help on crafting the captions and looking for ideas for new reels because in the end, it's just knowledge that goes with them in the future. And the day that she needs to find a job, she has more skills and she's learning
Mm-hmm.
how to work. But at the same time, we're spending time together. And it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you were saying. We don't need to separate work and life. There's ways to blend it in and they could enjoy it. Or my son, I was working on a website and he was asking, so what are you doing? Who is this for? And why do we
Yes.
do that? I was like, just grab a seat and I can show you what is it that we're doing. So I received
Mm-hmm.
this from this person and now we're working on this and now we do it like that. Just curious about it and he enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
that we shared.
Yeah, and who knows, my son may never go into the same line of work that we do, but I do think that he's learning valuable lessons that he can take along to anything else that he chooses to do one day because there are several different skill sets that he's obtaining now or at least starting to get introduced to. And it's even beneficial the fact that he enjoys it. So similar to, as you said, with your daughter. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
amazing skills.
Yes.
And that way they enter the job market with a bit more knowledge.
Yes, exactly. Things to add to the resume right off the bat.
Exactly. Yeah, because they
Yes.
expect them to have a whole curriculum and a whole bunch of experience when they're 18 or 21,
Mhm.
but how is that going to happen?
Yes,
So,
that's so true. I mean, even similar, and I know I'm digressing a little bit as well, but going back years ago when I was a teenager, well, it was more than years ago, but going back decades when I was a teenager, and I wanted to start getting experience in the workforce. And my father, he had an insurance brokerage company that he ran out of California, and he offered for me to basically go out and help him in the office, but to teach me certain skill sets in his office. And at first, when he first proposed that to me, I was like, no, like I want to go and work at a certain place with my friends because I want to be there. But so I was like, okay, I'll go, go with you and do help you out and do what I do. And looking back on that, even when I was in college and the years thereafter, I was so grateful for him proposing that and that opportunity because the skill set I was able to add to my resume when I entered the workforce and the knowledge that he had taught me being in his presence as he was running his business, because then I took those things into the workforce and it just added a sense of confidence and knowledge. And I feel like it gave me a boost. So I was quite thankful for that opportunity. Although when I was a teenager, I was like, I want to work at, this fast food place with my friends because I want to hang out, whatever it may be. But
and
good
that's actually
opportunities.
great. And it's really aligned to the topic because we end up having mentors that are experienced in their career. It doesn't matter what field. But
Hmm.
I used to accompany my dad also with when he was doing business. And I loved going with him to meetings. I mean, it was other times and it wasn't weird that your little kid was with you.
Yes.
And I would see him and I would always see him calm. I saw he enjoyed that I was there with him. And I think that also helped me and the day of today with sharing my work with my kids, having
Hmm.
a different attitude of bringing that balance into everything that I'm doing and trying to avoid burnout because the moment you get into that burnout, you screw up
Hmm.
your company, you screw up whatever you're doing because you don't have the energy, you don't have the
Hmm.
desire to be there anymore. You just
Hmm.
need to like get out of the situation where you're in. So
Hmm.
preventing it's so important and having that older mentor when we're kids and seeing it and just experiencing it, I think it's pretty enriching.
Going back to our topic at point here, and for those listening who may be struggling to find time for themselves or balance time, and I think balance is kind of a tricky word to use because it's not necessarily
Mhm.
ever really balanced like 50-50, but it's being able to navigate time where we're still able to accomplish and still feel fulfilled without getting burnt out, what advice would you be able to offer them in starting out small? So let me rephrase that a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel so overwhelmed or stressed out, and we can just say, relax, push those priorities till tomorrow, or whatever it may be, and create the time for yourselves. But sometimes when you're in the moment and the heat of that stress, it just feels overwhelming. And
Mm-hmm.
so in that instance, what piece of advice do you think you can provide to somebody like that who's on the edge of burnout to take small steps in setting boundaries and creating space for themselves to have personal time in their daily routines?
I would say, based on my experience, to start working on the organization. I think that's one of the primary steps that can create a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're not organized, we can't
Hmm.
see what's in front of us. We don't see everything we need to do, and it's easier to feel that overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the example of this company I worked at where everything was important and immediate.
Hmm.
I became a manager there, and I was also in charge of an emergency line. And that means 24/7 you're on call with students, which are under 18. So if anything goes wrong, it's really bad. So I had
Hmm.
calls at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4
Wow.
a.m. A flight got canceled. You need to buy new flight tickets and rebook them. So working with the whole team. And once you enter these situations where really like, okay, this needs to be taken care of right now. When I looked in front of me, going back to it, looking at the things in writing and staying organized, at the other priorities like delivering a presentation, but the
Hmm.
presentation is not until next week. So my boss told me I needed tomorrow because he wants a week to review it. But I have
Hmm.
this other emergencies. I think he can review it on Wednesday, but I'm not just going to think. I'm going to reach out to them and ask, is it okay if I give it to you on Wednesday? So I'm being proactive. And you can be
Hmm.
proactive with those situations if you know what's in front of you. So that organization, sitting in front of all of your tasks, whether you use paper or a calendar or a Word document, it doesn't matter. Just see what you have to do. Try to make a list and prioritize what cannot wait and why, what could wait a bit, what can wait a bit longer, and
Yeah.
be proactive in communicating with the people involved. Is there, if there's someone more than you involved? And from there, that's the first step of starting to separate schedules and decide, okay, I was able to accomplish the things that couldn't wait. Now I actually have an extra hour. I'm going to
Hmm.
do something that fulfills me. Or I have 2 extra hours. Because I know it's really difficult to say I'm going to cut out at 5 because
Hmm.
you can go until 9, you can go until 10, you can go until 2 a.m. But it's really making that internal effort of saying, yes, I'm going to do it because I care for myself. And you'll get that confidence if you see what you have ahead and what can wait.
Yeah, all great points. Again, I think sometimes that is what causes that feeling of overwhelm because we have so many things that are all a priority or so essentially important, or so they seem. So we get that feeling of overwhelm. But yes, it's exactly as you mentioned. If we put things down on a calendar, whether it's paper or in a Word document on our phone or whatever it may be, we see everything that needs to get done, but then we can move them around and prioritize them and then feel that sense of calmness or ease to know that although there's 10 to do tasks on my calendar today, they don't all necessarily need to get done today. We can spread them out over the week based on really how urgent they are because not everything is that urgent ultimately. Great piece of advice there for anyone who's feeling like they're on the brink of burnout. I do want to put it back to you and ask you as we begin to close out, can you share with followers where they can find you, you and your business, and follow along on your journey, as well as seek out your marketing services when they are in the markets for scaling their businesses and being seen as well?
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. So we can be found on our website, which is www.smbglobalmarketing.com.
I love that. I'll be sure to include all of your links in the show notes so everyone can locate you and find you, both yourself and your business. Sharmila, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experience with us today. I know that sometimes we just need to take a step back and set some time to prioritize ourselves so that we can de-stress, clear out our minds, and as well prioritize our tasks within our days. So thank you so much for your feedback and the recommendations that you've made, not just for myself today, but for anyone who's listening, on how to prioritize time for ourselves in our busy days, because we know life is hectic. There's always so much going on, but it's vital to being able to provide ourselves that time to clear our heads. And even if it's just 15 minutes of quiet time or a workout, and being able to incorporate both life and our work as well together so that you're getting the satisfaction from being able to be present in both as well and not feeling like you're torn in one over the other. Again, I know I digress. So many great things that you had mentioned in our conversation today. Thank you so much, Mila, for being on this episode of Great Grace and Growth. Thank you.